Are you struggling to find a specific table cell in your Xcode UI testing? You're not alone. Many developers face this challenge when automating their iOS projects. Today, we're going to tackle this issue head-on. I completely understand how frustrating it can be when you're trying to automate UI tests and you can't locate the elements you need. It's a common hurdle for many new developers, especially when working with existing code. Here's the specific situation we're looking at. A user recently asked, "How do I find a table view cell in Xcode UI testing with Swift?" They shared their code, which attempts to access a cell but isn't working as expected. Sound familiar? Let's dive into this together. So, what could be going wrong here? There are a few reasons why your code might not be locating the table view cell. It could be due to the structure of the view, the timing of when the test runs, or even how the elements are identified. And stick around. At the end of this video, I'll share a pro tip that can help you streamline your UI testing process and avoid these issues in the future. To begin solving the user's issue, we need to ensure that the table view is correctly identified in the UI test. The user should first check if the table view is accessible by using the correct identifier. Next, the user should verify that the cells within the table view are being accessed correctly. Instead of using the index directly, we can use the identifier for the specific cell. If the user is still having trouble, they should consider using the debug tools in Xcode. This allows them to inspect the UI hierarchy and confirm the identifiers of the elements. Finally, if the user is still unable to find the table view or its cells, they should ensure that the UI is fully loaded before attempting to interact with it. Adding a wait can help. Fun fact, did you know that the first iOS app was released in 2008? Since then, UI testing has evolved tremendously, but finding elements can still be tricky. Now, let's look at the answers provided by other users. An alternative approach provided by another user involves setting accessibility identifiers for your table and its cells. First, in the view controller's viewDidLoad method, define the table's accessibility identifier. Then, in the cell4row@index_path method, assign an accessibility identifier to each cell. Finally, in your test case, retrieve the table using its identifier and tap on the specific cell. Now, let's dive into a different answer from another user. An alternative approach suggested by another user involves setting an accessibility identifier for each table cell. First, you would assign an identifier using the cell's index path. Then you can retrieve the cell by its identifier and tap it. Now let's see a response from a different user. An alternative solution provided by another user suggests using the accessibility identifier of the cell. They recommend this straightforward approach. Simply tap the cell using its identifier. The user mentions that the previous method of accessing the table view and then the cell did not work for them, as it failed to find the cell after locating the table view. Here's the pro tip I promised. Always use accessibility identifiers for your UI elements. This practice not only helps in testing, but also improves accessibility for users. And there you have it. With these tips, you should be able to find your table view cell in Xcode UI testing with ease. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe for more tips and tricks on iOS development.